And we're back, round two. All right, so I mentioned having some price predictions. In this price prediction, we are going to use Fibonacci lines. And as we have the Fibonacci lines here that we drew from the last video, we're going to adjust it to be what is called, or at least what Jay has expressed, is the Fibonacci grand cycle, right? So now measuring retracements or future price targets on a long scale, right? Long-term investment. Because he's a swing trader, he's a long-term swing trader. He's not a 2-month swing trader. He is a, you know, 9 to 18 months, 12 to 18 months, maybe even 2-year type of swing trader, particularly in crypto. But it's amazing how some of these things pan out. So what I have here is still is a regular Fibonacci line. And so what I'm going to project here for you guys is a price target of $189. And I'm going to give you a time frame after you can see how I came with that target, so I can show you how I came with the time frame. So you're like, $189, Robert? Yeah, that's easily to say because it went to 160. Granted, yes, like, oh, is this thing gonna go back to 180? For sure. I think, yeah, for sure, 189. But I'm gonna show you how it was like, why the one number is 189. And also, too, when you pull back from 160 going all the way down to, sub 100 for a minute, people's concerns can be that ARK will never get back there, right? It cannot get back there because people are after Kathy Wood's head. But the 189 kind of comes with a target. And if you got in here in these low and the pullback correction in the 100 areas of the 110, that's lovely for you versus if you got in, at 150, 189, you're like, I'm already drowning. So, whatever. Now, so we're going to adjust this. So we talked about Elliot wave, and we talked about the 5-wave impulse up, and we talked about the correction down. Now, we can utilize that 5-wave impulse up again after we've had this correction down, and we can kind of go from there. But let's see what we have. I'm going to switch the settings on this Fibonacci retracement to the template for the Fib grand cycle. And the Fib grand cycle, I really tried to look at the videos, but you pretty much use a 0, a 1, a 4, a 5, and an 8. And then, is there another one? Yeah, and a 13. Okay. So the reason why I switched it to where we were here is to show you how those come into play. So looking at this Fibonacci grand cycle from the previous high and low here, let's see if those zones came into play. So you have the high from February, the low in March, and then you have the grand cycle here. Line number 3 is about 116. So, came kind of close. And then you have the grand cycle number of 5. And again, you can say came kind of close there, right? Again, areas of resistance and support are also zones, not spot on points. Also, too, some people say include the wicks. Some people say don't include the wicks. So if I don't include the wick, look how it comes even better into play. Wow. If I include the wick, it's a little off. Again, adjusting it to where the wicks are. Adjusting it to the bodies, it comes to play even greater. So keep that in mind, right? But again, that's all preference. That's all preference. So what I wanted to show you that because let's use the body just here in this picture or the zoned area. Look how it comes into play. It's like so perfect. Oh my gosh. That's pretty cool. Now, let's get rid of it on the line. So showing you this from this perspective, those grand cycle numbers come into play. This is having like vision and seeing for the future, right? Straight up. I never would have considered this unless you take from from traders and from investors what you see that is of great value. So what I like to do, and I can't really remember where I did the pullback from, but we're in the ABC correction, and here is the recent high to the low. And granted, this correction could not be all the way over, right? Maybe this thing can still pull down and come here. I'm learning that you gotta kind of be acceptable of that, and it can come. This could be the correction leg aspect cannot be over here, but the momentum has shifted back to tech stocks. So I think that innovation is coming back for art, and it's not. I think the correction is about over. So let's put in those Fibonacci, grand Fibonacci cycle lines. And I'm putting it in from here, the B leg, to C leg. So we have a line, so we have the retracement line here from the B to the C. Again, we can use wicks, we can use bodies, we can, depending on how you kind of want to do it. I see, this area here, that wick down here. And the areas of price targets obviously have to coincide with the lines on the Fibonacci retracement. So this is why we see this retracement line here of about 190 on the 3, 251 on the 5, and 342 on the 8. Now, there's no doubt that I feel like in the future, these numbers can and will be hit. Of course, it's always like the time frame piece. I would not want to be the guy who says, oh, I think that, art can hit 200. And then you can be screaming that from the rooftops for a year. And then finally, when it hits 200, they're like, he predicted it. But did you really? I mean, you gave no time aspect to it, no rough estimate of time at least. When you give a rough estimate of time, that's where you're kind of putting a little bit more of your neck on the line. And if it comes to be right or roughly around the time, you gain more credibility than if you're just screaming that, 200 is a price target versus people who say the bear market's coming soon, the bear market's coming soon. And I remember saying the housing market's got to crash, after the incredible run up from, 2010 after that crash, and it's just been running up for a ridiculous amount of time. Like it's gonna correct. I was saying that for like 2 years. And I'm like, dang, I don't think this housing market's gonna correct. And even in this past year, it just made its run. So eventually, it's almost like I was sounding stupid, even though I didn't say that to a lot of people. And that's me being in banking. Consider that. I mean, I was in mortgages. I didn't do mortgages, but I was on the servicing side and just looking at the market trend. I'm like, this thing has to correct for people to be able to afford houses. No, government and the people in power have another plan. Let's increase the wealth gap. That's what our plan is. All right, I'm gonna get off that soapbox though. So I set a price target of 189, and this line is giving me 190. Don't shoot me, 189. All right. So I'm gonna put the line right here on a horizontal line. So this is how I'm coming up with the price target of 189. 189, 190 on art, based off of the B to C leg on the corrective leg of the Elliot wave to the most recent low. So you have the most recent high down to the recent low. And now we start, this is where I believe where we start our new wave count. So this in the perspective is what I'm looking at to be, now there's going to be waves up and down to reach here. But this is where I believe that one of the major waves is. Wave 1 will be here. Wave 2 will be some type of pullback here. Wave 3 will take us all the way up to here. Wave 4 will bring us down some bit. And then there's another wave 5 that's going to go to that astronomical, maybe 13 leg of 494. I'm not predicting that far out in the future. I'm just trying to go with a pretty good estimation for this price target here. This is our next major line on the grand Fibonacci cycle. And it's going to go to line number 3, about 189, 190. So now you're asking me, all right, how are you coming up with the time? Well, let's take a look at some symmetry of its recent growth. So if we take a look at the last impulse, 5-wave impulses up, let's see how long this time frame took, because we have the up movement and the down correction. And so typically with symmetry in the market, the up movement could be roughly about the same length of time here for its next impulse up, right? Which could be, of course, if some people's impulses are fast, like it happens in a very short period of time, then you can see that again in a short period of time because you have momentum on your side to spike up to higher prices. And sometimes it could just take a little bit longer. So we're giving ourselves some, a buffer of maybe a few weeks or days. But again, this is all prediction, and it really kind of becomes speculative at this moment. But it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to see if I'm right in the future. So if we go from this, so there's 2 ways of looking at it. We can go from this full wave, right? We can go from this full wave here to where it peaked. So that's 47 bars, 329 days. And then you can start, you would then start, if we pretty much are going to look at the same type of time range here. And we're going with, oh, dang it. That's what I didn't write down as the target date before I erased all that stuff. But let's go out again, 47 bars. Come on, 47 bars. This is what I have. All right, bam. So, here. So we have 47 bars, roughly the same amount of time. So if we look at it from a symmetry standpoint, we are looking at a time frame of April of 2022. So the last time it did its 5-wave cycle up, then and reached its peak from its low, then we're looking at, that was 47 bars, 329 days. So that means that from this low here to reach this 190, we can be looking at the same time frame, which would give us a price target of, I'm gonna throw the vertical line on there. This gives us, of us reaching our price target of 189 by April 4th, okay? April 4th of 2022 is where we would reach that. So right now we're in July. So that's a little bit about 9 months to reach that at this point from where it started. And so April, is that the date I had? Gosh, darn, write it down. So, okay. So we have April 2022, which is where ARK is going to reach 190, or roughly around that time. All right, so long-term investment here, grand cycle number, it's going to do that. And in this time frame, it's going to have some movement of waves up and down. Like, look at this is the start of wave 1, down to wave 2 that ends here. Then we can have wave 3 that'll run us up some, wave 4 on a pullback, and wave 5 to reach that. The other thing, but let me double check because I can't remember. Did I start it there or did I feel like it was more wave 4? If I pull this back 14 bars. Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. I went from there to there because what this would be saying, if I only looked at wave 4, then that means we have it done in 14 bars, 14 weekly bars, which means that we would reach 190 in August, so next month. Now, it's not to say it's impossible. I mean, look at the spike of growth. Can it do it? Maybe, but relatively, you want to look at the safer dates. We're looking out here. Okay. And so price prediction of 190, 189 by the April 2022 timeframe. And to give it just a little bit um, uh, let's throw on the Grand Fibonacci from back in this pullback. Coming down, so we're going that way. All right. So in this run up here, we're saying from March, so I'll do the Grand Fibonacci lines back on from the February to March 2020, taking a look at these targets here of taking a look at the targets here, going from back this time frame where the 3 came into play and the 5 came into play. And we have that from here to the 5, it took that 47 days. So again, how the lines just, they kind of come and they fit. It's just, you throw them on there at a later time, and you're like, wow, that does fit for the future. So you may be saying to yourself, well, hey, Rob, look at how it reached from the last major pullback and low. It reached the 3 target, Grand Fibonacci line 3 here around this time frame. So if we pull our bars back, and then it reached the 5 line on the Fibonacci in the full 47 days of that cycle up, I'll give you that. So that could mean that we can go with a price target of $251 by April of 2022. Now, I could be, I could go big with my thought. I'd like to play a little more conservative to say 251 and by April 2022. I think it's possible, but the market been doing some squirrely stuff too at the same time. So I think the prediction of 190, 189 is still pretty safe, but let's throw something else in the mix. And this is why it becomes all speculative at this point, and you kind of have to just like pan it out and play it and see how you want to go. How long did it take from it to get to the third leg, right? Of this cycle from back in February and March 2020, throwing the grand fib lines from February to March 2020, it got to the third leg on the third wave and the third line on the Fibonacci at this point. So let's take this and let's pull it back. And so now this is saying it got to wave 3, its peak of wave 3, as well as roughly line 3 of the Fibonacci in 30 bars. So we can also go and say, well, line 3 of our new one, let's get rid of this line here. So you follow me here. 2020, the last pullback, I threw on the Grand Fibonacci extensions. Line 3 is our peak of wave 3. Line 5 is our peak of wave 5. Getting rid of this line, so there's no more questions about this one. So let's go to where it hit line, remember this was line 3 of the fib retracement, which I have as a target of 189, and it says it reached there in 30 days or 30 bars on the weekly chart. So let's pull back and let's go 30 bars. Bam. So if we go by the symmetry of the last time the cycle started, last time the Elliott wave cycle started to the end of wave 3, which hit the Grand Fibonacci line of 3, it would be a 30-bar time frame. And on this retracement here, my line 3 says 189. And if we go with that shorter time frame on the bar, we are then saying that, or we could potentially saying that here, ARK can be reaching 190 by December of this year. And again, it definitely does seem possible. There's some other factors that we would have to consider to say where that growth will be explosive. But what you can typically have or potentially have here is one, sorry, one to here, come on, to here, two, three, somewhere up here, four, somewhere around here, five to there, or even five up to here. It can blow it out the water. Or you can even have it here. Okay? So either way it goes, I feel like we're going to get to that target. I'm giving you more time to do so because of the conditions of the market. And that means that this 5-wave impulse here just kind of draws out a little bit longer. But this, again, is still very doable. Now, let's take it back to throw on, let's take it back and let's throw on those price ranges here. Let's throw on the range in price and see what's the percentage move from 0 to 1. From 0 to 1, we have 32%. From 2 to 3, we need to have maybe 2 to 3 times that size. So that means we can go up at least 2. So we're going to go up to 60, 62 or whatever. Or look at, even, look. That's definitely 2 times the size of that. Wave 3. The pullback again cannot go below, the pullback on wave 4 cannot go below 1. And then, so that means, but it can go down at least halfway. It may come down to the recent all-time high after it breaks it. That does make sense. And then if we need to get another 32% move up for wave 5, and if we believe it's here, again, this is why it's speculative, because now we're just throwing numbers out there. Let's go 32%. Let's go roughly 32%, 36%. Then that puts us up here. So that's how you can play with Elliott wave, but you can get lost. I know this last piece here kind of was like, oh, now you done lost me. We was good when you just do on the grand Fibonacci lines and gave us a price target there, and that makes sense. But now you're saying, all right, you're projecting what the wave count and the wave size can look like, and now that's throwing you off. And I understand, and that's I feel it. Okay, I feel it. But again, the purpose here was to show grand cycle Fibonacci, give you the base frame, a little bit of the Elliott wave, but show you the grand cycle Fibonacci to say, hey, this is why I'm having this price target of about 189, and I'm giving it until April of 2022. And if you're in that and it goes, and if you're in that on a long-term option play, then you're happy, especially if you enter down here at the 100 price range. Even if you entered in the 140, 130 price range, that's still pretty good, even though you have a drastic kind of pullback, but it could still make its way there. And if it's aggressive on its end of doing its thing, you could reach it by December of 2021. And I'm sure you would be even happier if it did it in that shorter time frame, right? So 189 by April is my projection. If I want to get more aggressive, we can go with 189 by December of 2021. We have to let some time tell us as well. We have to be able to be flexible and can change. And so with me showing you that on ARC, let's go over real quickly to AMD. And let's do the kind of the same thing, shrink these prices here. And let's take a look at, let's take a look at, okay. Now with AMD, obviously these two tops are a little bit different. So I'm not going from the B down to the C, even though I can. And I believe the price target I had was 120 on AMD. So if we scroll our grand cycle, did I do it from? I should have taken a snapshot. I feel like it's stupid. Oh no, I didn't draw it from up there. I drew it from down here. That's where I drew it from. Yeah, I drew it from that fake out of us recovering down here. So if we do the B, then that puts us at a price target of 137. And I believe I drew it here to be more conservative, which puts me in that 120 range here. Okay. Because we went up and we're like, we thought we were going to make it. We thought it was over. And I said, no, it's not over. We're going to go with the Lord. So we have a 120 to 138 range, 126, 138 range there. Let's see what's the time frame we can take to do it. So if we look at my idiot button up, you guys, epic failure on my part. I didn't like jot the time frame down. There's only one that I definitely jotted it down, and that's SMH. We're gonna go that one next. But this was too long though. I didn't do it from there. I think I did it from a recent run. Because that's the grand cycle. Did I do it from this low? I think I did it from this low. Because like 1,000 days just to go to 124 definitely does not seem reasonable. You guys would totally agree with that. But 43 bars, maybe 301 days does? I don't even think I did it from there. I think I did it from this break. 25 weekly bars. So then if we go, so if we go 25 weekly bars here, dude, 25 weekly bars from that point there. November. Yep, that's the one I used. So I didn't use the whole cycle for it to get to number 3 on this one. I said, because that's obviously way too long. I mean, AMD has way more momentum. Great company. Finances are looking good. It's taking over Intel space. It's competing heavily in the market. Its popularity is going there. It's not going to take 1,000 days to get from this recent low to 124. Maybe 1,000 days to get to maybe, the 5 line, but definitely not 124. So I went from where it had its breakout here of just incredible growth in July of last year, 25 bars to reach that high. We're looking at 25 bars again to reach this price target of the 120, 124 range. So I'm going to draw my horizontal line here. Bam. And I'm going to draw my vertical line on here as well. Sorry about the noise in the background. Somebody must be in the background. November of 2021 of reaching that 120, 123 range. Okay. Again, sue me for not being perfect on the number. But before we leave AMD, let's take a look at the Fibonacci retracements from this time frame, the grand, to see what that looked like. If anything came into play. Wow, look at how some stuff came into play. So from wave 2, that pullback on wave 2, number 5 came into play big time. But it definitely broke above 3. So November reaching 120, I think it's possible. It has a lot of momentum on its side. Like AMD is a great company right now. They're making partnerships, database, data centers that they're going after. They're in a lot of computers. You know, more people are going to buy PlayStation 5s, more people are going to buy Xboxes. It's just, and they're in everything. The Teslas that they're going to be in now. I mean, the growth can be amazing over the next, 3 months, right? Which, if we go back to ARC then and their innovation and how aggressive they are, that does make reaching this 190 by December even more doable with how technology is taking over. And I was just more conservative on this aspect, saying April. So it kind of moves my idea like, you know what, December is probably about the time we can do that to line number 3. All right, let's go to SMH. SMH, I had a price target of 340. And I so wish I kept the pictures on here. I really did. So if we go back and we take a look at this cycle here, let's draw. I'm not going to draw out the waves here, but let's put the grand cycle on right here. Look at that pull back. And we start a wave, right? Start some wave. 3 comes into play big time. 3 comes into play definitely big time. So now let's draw the same cycle. Another thing. Guys see that? Line number 3, 341. Let's see, did I use this one? Or did I use this one? It's kind of like the same number. Let's use the first one. So, like, here's the thing. I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs when you get to this point, but you can say, all right, if it's from this pullback, you have 327. If it's from this pullback, you pretty much have 340. So always, I guess, is give yourself some price range, some price ranges of targets, right? So I can say 330 to 340, but look at that. That pullback there, that was the low. That's also the reason why I'm using that. That was the low, right? The peak to the low. This was peak, but it was a new high. But the peak to the low. I mean, this was a new low, a higher low, my bad. So let's throw this line in here. And I think I told my buddies, check my text messages. I think when I messaged them, I said by February time frame. So if we go from this last significant run, I'm gonna get rid of this grand retracement. And we go from this last significant run to there. So we have 47 bars, 330 days. And now let's go from this low point here, and let's do the same amount of time. All the way out, 47 bars. So I told him, yeah, so that has us at January of 2022, reaching the 340, 330 price range, that time frame. That's bananas. Yeah, that has bananas. Actually, if we go back more, it's 46 bars. But. So we use a little bit of here, we're using some symmetry in the market, right? The roughly amount of time it took to make that push from a low to a high. So also the symmetry, now to the symmetry for that similar growth. We've used some Fibonacci retracements and grand Fibonacci retracement cycles. And then we also considered Elliot waves of its growth, right? Because you can have here, we would have 1, 2, then this 3 is going to go up here somewhere, 4 and 4, 5. But also consider that 3 could just go to, to 338. The peak of the third wave of the Elliott wave can be 338, pulls back for 4, and then just goes higher for 5. I mean, there's a lot to be considered here, but wanted to share this with you guys because let's see if I'm right at the end of the day. I mean, if I'm wrong, so what? I'm not really tripping. But if I'm right, so what? Not really tripping. So that's pretty cool. I think I have one on Target. I'm not Target. I had a Target on Apple of 166. So let's pull this back. Let's pull this down some. And grand cycle. Let's go from this pullback here. Wow. So that's the February pullback. Look at how the grand cycle number 3 came into play significantly here. Okay. So now when I draw that same line from to this low, right? Not this one here. Last year was this recent one where everybody got killed. Or did I do that one? Or did I do, which one did I do? I did this one. Oh, I think I did that one. It's about 166. Yeah, so now we have a range here of where we're going. We have 166 here. If I use this high and then pull back, and we have potential of 194. So, right, what do? We can go conservative with the 166. And we're gonna put that there. Again, speculative. You're like, Robert, you're breaking the rules. You're not using the same highs and all that type of stuff. I know it's tough to like, it's like it's not easy. Shoot. So get rid of that line. So we have the 166 time frame or whatever. 6170. Let's use the range. I'm just giving a round number right now. And let's see the time frame. So we had this dip here all the way to this high. So we have boom, all the way to that high. What's 44 bars? And so if we go from the low that's here, oops. I don't remember what the date time I said it was going to be, but 44 bars. Bombs. Like Dylon spits hot fire. So we're looking at March of 2022. Y'all know that's doable for Apple. Y'all know that's doable for Apple. But of course, we know too in September, they always take that dip. September dip. Boom. September, where's that? September dip. Boom. So we have 2 lines that we're going to draw here. This one here for March, and we have a horizontal for the price of it. 165, one that's on the area. That's even so more doable. Maybe I'm not being like aggressive enough here. If I want to be more aggressive, let's scratch. Let's look at the last biggest pullback, which was the one from the end of the year, right? At the end of the year. That's 18 bars from that last big pullback in September of last year. So if we go 18 bars, that means that it could reach it in September. Maybe I should be more aggressive with that. This is the struggle with like doing this. And I guess this is why people don't want to put their lives there. They don't want to put themselves on the line. Because it's like, oh, what if I'm wrong? So, like, because that's a big difference. That's like a 6-month difference to reach the 165 target. March? I wasn't September. September seems so much doable. Like, look at this chart from a weekly standpoint. It can pull back for some time and then bounce up. And then, well, I guess wouldn't it make sense too? September typically does take some type of dip. But if it pulls back a little bit here from this doji, explodes up to reach 165 in September and then pulls back to then go maybe even up to the 5 line by the end of March, That makes some sense as well. So, um, hey, let's go with September. September 165. Well, if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what, either way it goes. This is just here to have fun. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Some stuff I learned, and I was like, oh man, let's try and put this to the test, see if I'm right, share it with some of those folks who are close to me, and then they can help keep me accountable and be like, yo, that was spot on. Again, a lot of it's speculative. A lot of it is with with the Fibonacci lines, with the Elliot waves. It's not the perfect science where it fits every single time, but nothing with trading is. There is probabilities of it reaching whatever it's going to reach. Um, but give it some time. You gotta give it time to see if it's going to do what it does. Let me see if I do this. That puts it at, seeing at like 200 by March. Definitely seems more reasonable. I could see that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could see that. My 165 is very conservative. Now I want to change it. Gosh, dog. I want to change it to 200 by March. Maybe 165 by September, but then 200 by March. Let's see where we go with that. All right, y'all. Throat's starting to hurt, and I'm done. See you guys next time.